I'm Katie O'Connor. Coming up, I bring you a piece of Cuba right here in the heart of Toronto.
I'm Andrea Hall. I hope you've got your popcorn ready because later in the show, we'll take you on a date to the movies. I'm saving you a seat.
Where do musicians in the city come for heavenly acoustics? I'll show you a church-turned music hall coming up after this.
Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Humber News. Today we explore Toronto's hidden gems, exposing some of the unique experiences, places, and art in our city. I'm Alicia Parchment. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Philip Maciel. Later in the show, we'll paint you a picture of the debate over street art and visit Canada's first urban wilderness park. We'll also take you to the formerly Down-and-Out Junction neighborhood and to a Toronto island that is said to have one of the city's best beaches.
But first, Philip explores one of the city's truly one-of-a-kind dining experiences. Toronto is one of the world's most multicultural cities and offers cuisine from practically every ethnicity and country. In this restaurant, though, it's not what you eat, but how you eat it.
Blink and you might miss it. It's the only restaurant of its kind in Toronto. Tucked away on the corner of Church and Charles, you'll see a steep set of stairs leading into a basement. That's Au Noir, one of Toronto's truly hidden gems. This unique restaurant opened its doors in Toronto in 2009. What makes Au Noir so special? Guests will be eating their entire meal in complete and total darkness. You heard me correctly. And who better to serve you in the dark?
All the servers are legally blind or vision impaired, so that is a very nice socially conscious concept or practice that I'm really happy to support.
And it's blind servers like Victor who are grateful for the opportunity Au Noir provides them.
I never thought I'd be a waiter in my life, so I was nervous. At the beginning it was really nerve-wracking. My stomach was aching every night, but after a week or two I started to enjoy. And
Guests choose their meals in the lobby before diving into darkness with surprise dishes as an option.
I'm too nervous to do that. I wish I wasn't. I like to know, at least if I can't see something, what it is.
Although it might test the nerves, others think the surprise dishes add to the one-of-a-kind experience that Au Noir offers to its guests.
I'm totally doing it.
Okay.
I'm living large today.
The whole idea of heightening your other senses because you can't see.
So this is your first time doing this. Are you nervous?
I'm really excited. I love food, so it'll be interesting to try it in a different way.
Before going in, all cell phones need to be off. Your hand goes on your server's shoulder and you follow them into the pitch black dining room. And then you're blind. For roughly 2 hours you're experiencing what it's like living blind. You might not know where your wine glass is, and you might even use your fingers to eat, but it's all part of the adventure. This is the experience every diner here at Au Noir can look forward to. It's unusual, a little out of the ordinary, but a whole lot of fun, and it brings attention to something some people may not necessarily see. And it looks like it's my turn to experience what Toronto's hidden gem of a restaurant has to offer. Philip Maciel, Humber News. All right, Victor, let's go.
okay, if you can put your left hand on the left shoulder and make a line, please. I'll be leading you in single file. Okay. We have one more identical door. There you go.
Phil, you mentioned in your piece that when you're in complete darkness, your sense of sight is totally gone. Did you find that your sense of smell and taste were heightened?
You know, I did. At first, it's a little startling, so you're not really thinking about it, but once you've sat down and you've processed the fact that you can no longer see, at least for the next 2 hours, you start tasting the food, and the smallest things start, you know, tasting so much better. You can taste the black pepper on your steak, or you can, simple things like mashed potatoes or green beans are like, wow, this is fantastic. And I know you went as well. You experienced it.
I know. When I went with my friends, we went in the last summer, and it was just crazy because you're in the complete darkness, and your sense of sound was just so strange. You were yelling at each other across from the table.
You're so used to seeing somebody, and then once you can't see them anymore.
They felt so far away.
Exactly. Anyways, moving now from dinner to your after-dinner experience. The Cuban cigar has always been an icon in popular culture, but you don't have to go to Cuba to get one. Katie O'Connor visited a family-run business that makes their own stogies here in Toronto, serving everyone from the movie business to people like you.
For Cuban cigars, A back alley in Toronto is probably the last place you'd look. Tucked away off King Street West, Frank Correnti's is a hidden treasure, with the emphasis on hidden. Established over 100 years ago, the company offers hand-rolled cigars for those looking for a little taste of Cuba. They say they are the only remaining North American company to make hand-rolled cigars on-site and by hand. The company was purchased over 50 years ago from Frank Correnti by the Miller family, who kept the company's name and reputation intact. The factory has been in the Miller family for 4 generations. Chris Miller is the current owner and learned to roll a cigar at the tender age of 6. He plans to pass the tradition on.
My kids, if the day they learn how to make a cigar will be the 5th generation, and they're getting pretty close. I got a 6-year-old daughter, so I've been trying to teach her.
Miller says rolling a cigar is an art form in itself, one that takes many years to perfect.
My grandfather used to say 3 years. It takes 3 years to make your first perfect cigar. My grandfather would roll in a day. He'd roll easy 400 cigars.
The company offers you a chance to not only buy cigars, but watch them being made. For the true connoisseur, you can pick out your tobacco, size, shape, and even the band on your cigar. First-time customer Daryl Fisher says he was drawn to Frank Correnti's because of the experience.
I was looking on the internet for some cigar shops, and this place really piqued my interest because after reading the site, I learned that they actually make their own, and so I thought it would be really nice to come in and actually see the craft of how they actually make the cigars. Yeah.
The store also caters to many films and TV shows, including The Assassination of Jesse James starring Brad Pitt. According to Miller, Pitt prefers a 20% herbal cigar. Closed to the public for decades, Frank Correnti's offers you a chance to view old world techniques and take home one of these for your very own. Katie O'Connor, Humber News.
Thanks, Katie. With re-released Disney films and Titanic 3D hitting cinemas this year, nostalgia seems to be a theme for 2012. But if you're really looking for a throwback theater experience, we've got the place for you. Andrea Hall checked out one cinema that's keeping the films of old young.
It doesn't look like much from the outside, or even the inside, until you get underground. The Toronto Underground Cinema isn't easy to find, but its Director of Operations, Nigel Agnew, says that's part of the theater's appeal.
A large part of our basis are repeat customers, simply because, once you kind of find the place, you want to return to it. It feels kind of hidden, so people get, personal attachments and things they kind of feel like they only know about.
The Toronto Underground Cinema is only the latest incarnation of the theater. It's been through several transformations, and relics of its past remain. This newest stage began almost 2 years ago under the direction of Agnew and his partners Alex Woodside and Charlie Lawton. Lawton says when the opportunity arose to join the others in running the cinema, he couldn't pass it up.
Alex was like, I know of this one cinema where the guy a couple of years approached me about saying, would you be interested, or would you know someone who would be interested in running it? I was just like, why would you pass that up? Like, idiot!
Lawton says the theater's dedication to traditional methods of cinema really sets it apart. They still use 35mm film whenever possible, as opposed to digital formats used by the big chains. But Woodside says their real value comes from that enthusiasm for film.
This place is run by passion, by passionate people, and it needs that to survive. And and I think that's a really important element to any kind of community, is to have businesses that are run on sheer passion, right? And that's what any local business is usually.
The Underground operates solely as an event cinema, no second-run films. Filmmaker Kevin Smith is one of several celebrities who've come in for a talk. Robert Englund, famous for his role as Freddy Krueger, also made a cameo appearance. And they have a stage for live events like wrestling and burlesque shows. But Holy Adam West Batman, all 3 guys say having the 60s Batman star come in was one of the most memorable events. And Lawton says he was surprisingly easy to get.
We contacted Fan Expo and said, hey, we're doing this, what would it take to get Adam West to come out? We would show the movie, he'd talk afterwards, would that be possible? And Fan Expo basically, I could hear them on the other end, no one's asked that, what do we do? Yeah, sure.
April is a slow month for the Toronto Underground Cinema, but things will pick up in May. Lawton says there are several events planned, including a free double bill on May 18th to mark the cinema's 2nd anniversary. One of the 2 films played will be Clue, which is also the first film the theater ever showed. The other film is yet to be determined. Andrea Hall, Humber News.
Thanks, Andrea. When we come back, we'll have a story about a special place for Toronto musicians and explore the beauty and the battles of the city's graffiti artists.
I think it was really dumb to just come out and tell a bunch of kids that are already angry at the establishment that, oh, we're declaring a war on graffiti.